and connected customer experience. The scope of customer service is rapidly expanding due to changing customer expectations and evolving technologies. A paradigm shift by moving from reactive customer service to preemptive customer service has created a whole new dimension of customer service. The Times Group has taken the responsibility of rewiring our understanding of customer experience through the lens of the virtual roundtables in collaboration with Microsoft. Today's discussion with sales leaders from the Indian IT sector will focus on immediate challenges, anticipated trends, opportunities, and ideas on how to enable a seamless and connected customer experience through various touchpoints. Doyens from the sector will deliberate on what it will take to not just better understand your customer, but deliver meaningful experience across all channels. It is our belief that the words of wisdom from them will help many peers rethink and rework their strategy going forward. And so, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Prabhu Paulson, Product Marketing Lead, Dynamics 365 and Power App for Microsoft, to set the tone for the discussion to follow. Prabhu, over to you.
Thank you, Ivan. Just quickly sharing my screen, and appreciate if one of you can confirm if my screen is visible.
Yes, Mr. Prabhu.
Thank you so much. So, Ivan, thank you for that wonderful welcome. Thank you, everyone, for taking time to join us today, where we talk about offering a differentiated customer experience. And what we will pivot around is how we are looking at the customer experience becoming a lot more digital. And I will not take more than 10 minutes or so to kind of walk you through what we are seeing as huge transformations in the industry. And obviously, we have a panel of eminent folk from the industry whom we will love to hear from them, their own experiences. So first and foremost, why should we even think of changing something that we've been doing so well for so many years? We've been interacting with customers. Our customers have been interacting with us. We've been able to delight and wow our customers. So what is really changing is that there is digital transformation. Now, the question, if I were, if this was a real roundtable, I would pause and I'd ask you, what causes digital transformation? And I'd wait for some responses, and most often the response will be, it is disruption. There is a disruption in the market, which is leading to transformation. And with the given circumstances of the pandemic, the transformation has just got accelerated way over than what we had anticipated, as organizations will embrace on the digital path to engaging with customers, selling to customers, post-customer selling. And this is why we need to look at a differentiated digital selling that gets out to customers. And again, this is something that we're seeing across the board. So if you're seeing, we're seeing these trends cutting through many, many different verticals, irrespective of which customer vertical or which customers you cater to. We're seeing transformation is impacting them. And what are these challenges that these organizations, irrespective of which vertical and who your customers are, is that the whole process should be simple and seamless, right? End of the day, it's not systems, it's people. It's people like you and me who take care of our customers. So the whole process should be simple and seamless. We should leverage new and emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning and all of that coming together, and ensuring that we are able to keep away cyber attacks. I don't have to talk about it, right? The number of vulnerabilities that we've been hearing in the market, losing customer information, credit card information, Aadhaar card identities, all of those are super critical to us. So these are the 3 or 4 main concerns while organizations are going towards offering a digital transformation for digital engagements or digital selling. Now, how do we see organizations doing this, right? So we saw the trends, we saw the challenges. Now, how do we do this? And let me quickly jump right? First and foremost, digital starts from bringing everything together, right? So traditionally, we've seen engagement happen in two monolithic ways where we say that, hey, there is a traditional CRM system where customers are served using early engagement, marketing, lead conversion, and there's a post-sale customer service. And what happens in the background is traditionally ERP, or what we run our operations, our inventory, our go-to-market, data-driven analysis. But in the digital world, that monolithic application is getting very, very fudgeable. The distinction between what stays customer facing and what becomes internal and how much of the internal needs input from customer facing has changed drastically. And that is what digital brings. With Dynamics 365, we're able to give our customers a platform that traverses the entire spectrum, from being able to manage your internal operations and manage your order to cash process of procure to pay, to completely managing your customer experience, top of the funnel, taking them down through a customer journey, which is orchestrated by the experiences you want them to have, to landing that they become a trusted customer, a repeat customer. And all of this is driven by making sure that there is insights to the whole organization. It's just not your sales folks, just not your customer service representatives. It's just not people who are on projects. The insights about a particular customer, a particular project, a particular product should traverse the whole organization. Now, when you get these two things right, you get the whole digital platform correct, you're able to get insights, you can align the whole organization, be it messaging, be it processes, be it the entire customer experience has to be aligned. And that is what the first two give you the ability to do. And once you're aligned, agility becomes a matter of natural transition. You're able to quickly see what is working, what is not working for a particular set of customer, or in terms of a customer journey or an experience, and you're able to change it really quickly. And what Dynamics 365 does is it first and foremost, it helps you to connect remotely with customers. You could use Teams, you could use any other collaboration platform that you're comfortable with that plugs in seamlessly with your customer engagement or your traditional CRM or CE platform, where you can have video conferences, where you can do KYCs. We worked with banks where they can just open up their phone, use their camera, fill out a photograph, and take their Aadhaar card snapshot or a PAN card picture on the phone right into a CRM system and ensure that the KYC is done on the go, especially in a post-pandemic world. It started especially for senior citizens, and post-pandemic, it became the norm for so many of our customers who deal with financial customers or financial organizations dealing with their customers. Once you have this digital platform which is aligned and agile, this helps you to build deeper engagements with customers. Since you have a single, what we call as a golden record of a given customer, you know how the customer is engaging with you and the many things that they're doing with your organization, talking to different people, you are able to give them the right advice. And as I mentioned, the want of time, I'm going to quickly go through this and we'll hear more about this from our esteemed panelists, is how once you align and optimize these, it actually leads to cost saving. The platform that you choose, the journey that you define will eventually make sure that you as an organization are getting a better return on investment while giving a great differentiated and above experience to your customers. And all of this while ensuring that your own employees, while they are working from home, or they're partially commuting to office, or they've probably gone back to their native towns and cities, they're able to connect using a secure method onto the cloud and onto your environment, making sure that we are adapting to the changing world. Now, with these simple 4 things, right? Looking at the right platform, making sure the insights are coming across the board, making sure that this helps you to align processes. And once that happens, the processes, messaging, the journey, everything brings in the needed agility to your organization to meet your customer demands. What this does is we've seen with several customers, it helps you to drive overall sales, which traditionally have been walk-ins, are now online queries, could be Instagram stories, could be influencer-led marketing. More deals are winning. And the best part we're seeing is today we're able to get new team members on board. Now, these new team members may be new folks you're hiring or people from different teams stepping in to come and help in a pandemic. And how can Microsoft help you, right? So Microsoft can help you drive your business growth, optimize your operationalize operations, as well as ensuring the digitalization, and the digitalization should be sustainable. So we can help you with these value pillars by giving you a solution that can scale, an e-commerce solution that gives you a great omnipresence, be it on web, be it on app, ensuring that the costs are coming down. Once you get your business pillars, value pillars aligned with what your business processes are, we can assure you that they will definitely be significant reduction in operation cost, in selling cost, the COGS as we call it, will come down. And this also will have a direct impact on the way you're retaining customers, and you're going with the way you engage and build that trusted relationship. And just to cite a few customers that whom we've worked with, is we worked with the biggest tech names, we worked with the biggest financial names in the country, whom we've helped with transform the way they engage with their customers. And we can dive deeper even as we go in. And for the want of time, I promise I will take only 10 minutes. So even over to you. And we look forward to hearing from our esteemed panelists these things that we've been hearing.
Thanks so much, Prabhu, for that very short and crisp presentation and for setting the tone for the roundtable discussion to follow. And so, friends, with that, we move on to the roundtable discussion titled Accelerate Growth and Loyalty Through Customer Centricity in the Digital Age. And it's an absolute pleasure to first welcome and introduce the members of this esteemed and experienced panel. Anand Veeramani, Vice President and Business Head, Asia and Middle East, Happiest Minds. Nitin Nangia, Director Sales, Kescop. Avnish Dutt, Executive Vice President, Head of Sales, Naukri and Naukri Gulf, Info Edge, India. Siddhartha Chandurkar, Chief Executive Officer and Founder, Shepherd's. Siddhartha Padmapati, National Sales Head, Data and Analytics, Sales and Marketing Solutions, Dun & Bradstreet. Vinay Sancheti, Head Sales, India, GCC, APAC, Professional Services. NextDim, and Prabhu Paulson, Product Marketing Lead, Dynamics 365 and Power App, Microsoft. This roundtable discussion will be moderated by Biswajit Das, Director, Advisory, Analytics, AI, Data Lakes, and CVM, KPMG. Biswajit, or Biswa as he's fondly referred to, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ivan. It's always nice when you introduce people. It gives me at least a little boost in my self-esteem. Right? I feel a little better about myself. And thank you for making us all feel underdressed and showing us up that, in the old days, none of us would have even dreamt of turning up in shirt sleeves for a conference. Nothing should have changed because of digital. But thank you so much, guys. I really liked some of what Paul said, right? I think the basic nature of how we would sell, whether it's concept selling, solution selling, whatever, it does not change. That flywheel is still there of connect, collaborate, communicate, contextualize, and close, and then obviously it goes round and round. But what has happened is the 6 degrees of separation between humans has sunk now, right? And business always mimics human behavior, and technology amplifies it, right? And that's the crux of it. I think it's the convenience economy, right? So it's all about making it faster, more convenient, and better integrated for both external and internal consumers. The line between whom is slowly blurring, and nothing demonstrates this better than the rise of these super apps, right? Look at whether it's WeChat, Grab, and we know some Indian conglomerates who are heading there. But it's a very good indicator of how we want it to be a more seamless proposition now. But at the other end of the spectrum is also the snowflake customer experience, right? The belief that each individual is unique, whether it's an organization or a person, and therefore so is each customer. So each experience should be contextualized not just to the customer, but also to that specific moment of time or transaction. And I've been a proponent of desegmentation. N is equal to 1 for many years before it became fashionable. But technology today enables you to look at hundreds, thousands, and millions of customers as individual narratives, right? And even more important, it allows you to look at them simultaneously, which is what we wouldn't be able to do previously, right? Today, we have folks and old friends on the panel who've been seeing this landscape in, customer-centric solution and concept sales change over, I think, almost the last 2 decades. Sorry, folks, for giving away most of our ages, but yeah, anywhere between the last 1.5 to 2 decades. And who better than them to give a ringside commentary on this space as it evolves? Everybody, welcome to the panel. I have a confession to make. I do quite a lot of these forums, right? And sometimes the speaker, sometimes the moderator. And like you have the fantasy cricket league and the fantasy football league, I have my own fantasy panel league. Okay, I keep constantly looking for alternative panels, another alternate universe panels that all of us could be a part of. And which brings me quickly first to you, Avnish. I mean, you are of course very arts oriented. You are a trained classical vocalist and cricket, tennis fan with a wandering foot, sweet tooth. So a lot of stuff going on. But if we ever have to have a panel on the biographies of bookshops, you would definitely be a part of the panel, right? I know that every time you travel or on special occasions with your families, like birthdays, anniversaries, you always go and visit a bookshop, not just to buy books, but to actually interact almost with the bookstore, right? I think that is amazing. But obviously, even that has been disrupted by tech, right? Not just, of course, by the grandfather of all online bookshops made by a certain Mr. Bezos, but even the very object, the books being replaced in many places by the Kindles and of the world and the other e-readers, right? Do you think even here, even in our space of work, do you think technology, and especially CRM and sales enablement technology, is also changing the sales culture?
Yeah, thanks, Biswa, and hi everyone who are listening in. I think you picked a very interesting point, and I think I am a good study of how this has kind of changed. I remember flying back from Munich 2011, and it was the first time when I saw more people having a Kindle or a book reader, a digital book reader in their hands than books. So as I'm walking into the flight, and I normally do this, once I put my luggage, I go right up to the back of the aircraft and then come back to my seat. And I remember that distinctly as the first time I saw more Kindles and digital book readers than physical books. And I felt a pang of pain in my heart, because I'm one of those who wants to smell the book, write on the margins of the book. And there's a particular relationship that you develop with the physical artifact rather than just the digital version. Having said that, even oldies like me, even diehards like me, have been forced to delve deep into the digital book reading habit just because of the advantages that accrue. And I must be one of the last remaining specimens who are still wanting to prefer the old ones. But I think that's a very good segue to how I've seen technology changing the sales culture. Received wisdom is culture is driven from the top. So it's really, when we talk about an organization culture, sales culture, it's really the organization leadership, sales leadership that's driving the culture downwards. And unlike many other things which are more egalitarian, which kind of come bottoms up, culture is really top down. But what I've surprisingly seen, especially in the last 2 years, as we have been in the throes of the pandemic, and we have seen digitalization being adopted, sometimes by force, sometimes as necessity, sometimes this has come as a very good torchlight. Um, I think in the earlier days we had technology, but it was grudgingly adopted. Most sales folks used to resist it. Most sales folks used to have artifacts which were offline, a lead management Excel sheet that was very much their own. This was proprietary information. Now, what did that really cause? It caused a lot of siloism in the organization. Other than sales, sales really benefits, and in turn, customers really benefit from product management participating in selling, from marketing participating in selling, rather than being just limited to top of the funnel. And I think that got initially enforced and later on leveraged through technology. Like Paul was mentioning a little while back, when the entire journey of lead discovery, then the lead maturing to a point where it is warm enough to be on top of the funnel, and then doing its journey right through the sales process, that entire journey is now digitalized. But also there is one source of truth. CRM actually ends up being one source of truth for all customer information, for customer insight, and over a period of time for the lifetime value of the customer and what are the customer's priorities and so on. And it is the same information on which marketing can feed. It is the same information on which product can feed. And eventually it's the same information that can influence the roadmap of the value proposition of the product. So I think what has happened in the process is there is collaboration that was initially forced and now I think has become a part of the culture. There is more proactive reach out from sales to marketing, from marketing to sales, from product to sales, and so on. Customer is actually the beneficiary of all this, and that is resulting in a changing customer experience because all the elements are at one place and there is cross leveraging of all that. And I think within the organization, what has happened is there is much more ownership because now there is nothing to hide behind. It's, marketing didn't do this, product didn't have this, my customer said this, all of that is in the zone of transparency, and it's transparent internally, externally. So it is spawning what I would call extreme ownership. There is a lot more consistency and coherence of information that is leading to better planning and communication. And I think one thing that I love to talk about, which is value selling, there is a lot of coherence in the content that enables value selling, and hence the customer experiences the selling process and the production process very differently today. So that's how I would say, Biswa, this time technology is actually helping shape the culture.
I couldn't agree with you more, Avnish. And one of the things that I really liked about what you said, and I keep saying this, right? This forced breaking up of silos, and then obviously people figuring out that it's actually for the good. Because I think one of the biggest advantages of anything digital, large scale, is the transparency that it brings in. And just to take a different example from something else, right? If you look at all the food delivery apps, right? You would never have imagined that as a customer, I would know when my order is being made, when the valet has reached the food, where is he currently, etc. These are not transactions that a customer would have been privy to, right? He would have ordered and he would have waited. That's about it, right? And the same thing has happened to the sales cycle, right? You know where each stage is, what is whose contribution, who is goofing up, who's not, and so on and so forth. I think that is one of the biggest things that has happened, transparency across the board, right? Moving quickly on, Siddharth P. And we'll have this little bit of confusion going on, but so I'll keep using the surname. Sid, while like Avnish, you also tremendous foodie, wonderful, wandering foot. But I think because of Zoe, your alternative panel would of course be pet-friendly travel destinations. For everybody else, Zoe is Sid's 9-year-old golden retriever, right? So Sid, we hope Zoe is able to resume traveling like the rest of us very soon. But coming back to the topic, I was speaking to in another MSME forum a couple of days back, and one of the promoters was telling me that his entire outlook to doing sales has changed because of what the pandemic has done, right? So do you think, how has this sales cycle process really changed, and how do you still stay close to the customer, post during the pandemic?
Thanks, Vishwa, and big hello to everyone. I think talking about Zoe, I think this is one of the key challenges which I'm facing during the pandemic. That she starts barking at the wrong time whenever I'm having an important customer call, or your doorbell starts ringing at the wrong time. So these are the things which we are living with. But I think, as Avnish has pointed out, I think we have also seen a lot of transformation within this digital space. So I remember, I would not like to name the organization, but I would just like to talk, around 10, 12 years back in an organization where we were implementing a CRM, where we were going to track the sales force. The entire sales organization reacted as if, emergency was enforced in the country, and their daily life was going to be affected. And they said that we are under surveillance. What is this you're going to do? You don't trust us. So it's all about culture, I think, as Avnish has rightly mentioned. And the good part, I think, the pandemic, no way, I mean, we are all affected professionally as well as personally. But the only, I think, good thing the silver lining is that we have grown digitally in last, 12, 16 months, is that which wouldn't have been possible in next 10 or 12 years. So as by force, like Avnish has mentioned, or, it was a mandate to go about it. But I think we have basically crossed that bridge. And right now we are in a digital space where we need to have everything under one umbrella. So it's like, how do you bring partners under one umbrella, under a simple platform? It's also bringing in the salespeople, bringing in the operations team, bringing in the finance team. So I think that is where we have crossed the bridge, and that's obviously a good sign. So what are the key things I would say, what has differentiated and what exactly I am observing has grown over last maybe 12, 16 months is, we all know, we were doing well in technology. So human interactions basically, makes us more human, right? Physical interactions, and technology makes us smarter. But what the current pandemic technology has done is that it has also led to a revolution, which I would call is humanization of technology. So we are seeing all these apps, and we are all also seeing some of the things which are helping, to de-stress us as well, taking us informed decisions. Because everywhere, I think what we have seen is that our work-life balance has got affected, and we are working, at least around every one of us is working 20% more what we had done. Or that's on an average. I'm sure, there'll be people who will be working much more than that. But on an average count, would say 20% working hours have increased for each and every individual, because we are not traveling and we are expected to be on the phone or on our laptops all the time. So I think that is where the digitalization process is very much important of a platform where we can integrate various data sources, where we can integrate various informations like Paul has mentioned. How do you help your customers take those informed decisions? So likewise, I'll give you a small example. As Bishwa have mentioned, how do you stay close to your customers? So in Dun & Bradstreet, in my current organization, what we had done is like post the pandemic. So immediately we had identified the sectors which were affected by the lockdown or the pandemic. So, and then we had put them into various categorizations like high, medium, severely affected, and positively affected as well. So we all know that there were certain sectors which were positively affected. So then as a value add to the customers, what we had done is that we had identified those customers where businesses were depending on those industries which were severely affected, like say, for example, real estate or banking or finance or mining or manufacturing. And then we help those customers to find out alternate industries which were doing relatively well, or which were moderately affected. With the same set of services, we help them identify. So the concept, I think all the sales leaders have been talking all throughout, that the salespeople needs to be more of a consultative salesperson rather than a pushy salesperson. I think pandemic has taught us that you need to act as a consultant to your salesperson. And for that, I think digitalization is very much important, where you get all those inputs, all those data which is required to assess your current business needs.
I think it's absolutely not just relevant, right? And I keep, in my other conversations, I keep talking about human-centric design, especially because sales is a human-to-human interaction. Finally, finally, it is a person putting his signature on a piece of paper while everything else that goes behind it, right? And especially if you are selling to a promoter-driven organization, you have a very small group of people that you need to convince. It's not a board that you need to convince. Right? Anyway, Anand, I just wanted to quickly bring you in, Anand. You, of course, can be on multiple alternate panels, right? Whether it's cricket, tennis, music, travel, food, all of that is powerful. But you're also very hands-on when it comes to technology, especially the new ones, right? How do you think digitization is actually helping create these connected experiences? Is it helping at all? And if so, how?
It is. So, what this pandemic has actually taught us is how do you, as a salesperson, right? How do you convert an uncertainty into an opportunity? And I think that's very important journey that we took from sales from 2019 when there was a major uncertainty, and then 2020, 2021 onwards, the market is booming and there is a lot of opportunity that is coming in, right? How are you prepared? And the preparation has come in, especially for the organization where digital journey has already been there. Like, for instance, Happiest Minds, where I'm part of that organization, we have been born digital company from 2011 onwards. We started as a smack company, so our backbone was always there on digital technologies always. And I being from sales, even from sales perspective, I've been there for last 2 years in sales, but then I come from a complete tech background, and the whole organization, we were very clear even before the pandemic that people who are moving to sales needs to have a technology background. So I started the big data practice and then automation practice and then moved on to sales. It helped how to look at the data and process the data, right? It's not about just about getting the data from CRM and then there is some report coming out of it and then you read through and then execute it. It's not about that, right? How do you pursue the data? There is a human intervention required there. How do you pursue the data? How do you look at it based on the current scenario, and then how do you process it and then take it further? So that needs a complete tech driven approach, and digitalization played a huge role, at least to the organization of our size and our in the competition that we are going through. Especially we brought in complete email automation when it comes to the writing an email to a prospect, and that content also changes basically based on the industry, based on the data that is coming out of from my CRM and the person whom we are interacting to. And then it also comes with a lot of real-time data wherein the changes happen for the individual that I know today. You would have moved to a different role in the organization. I cannot trust a data which is maybe a month old, right? So the real-time data coming into the system and then making it, and then you look at the data and then process it and then bring it up is very critical for the entire journey when it comes to the sales. That is one perspective from sales perspective. The other point is because we come from more of a services industry, or IT services industry. It's not just about the sales side of automation, the data that is getting in. How is my organization backend team support me to sell, right? Last 1.5 years, the selling has totally changed more from relationship perspective to more of a show and tell story. Unless you show the customer remotely how things is going to work for him, he is not going to give you, unless he is an existing customer of yours, right? The new customer is going to trust you by looking at what you have done and looking at how it is going to benefit him. That's where these chatbots and the automation and RPA stories that we have created as a framework. It's not a solution, but it's more of a framework which gives them an idea of how to how his system or how he's going to transform his business by bringing in this technology. The trust factor comes in on show and tell story. That is not just about sales team. It's about the, as I said, right, the technology team that is going to support the sales cycle, or the operation teams. Operation team also played a major role in the sales cycle, wherein, like what Siddharth told about the industries that is suffering, which is my existing customer, how much discount I need to provide him and walk with them is very, very critical for me to handhold them when they are in crisis. And also to the industry which is booming out, how much I can little bit overcharge them to compensate this. So the operational data that is coming in, again, it's a technology driven. It's not an emotional decision that we take in, right? We go to the market, fetch those data, and then we take those some of those calls, which I think has helped us significantly on the digital part. How the digital technology has helped us in this entire sales cycle.
No, Anand, I really liked what you said, because I keep saying, right, software, not slideware. When it comes to Texel, I keep saying it's software, not slideware, because nobody buys tech for tech's sake anymore. Either it's to make money or to save money. I mean, obviously, if it's not reg tech, then it's to make money or to save money. And that's where, and I'm saying even in non-tech sales, right? If you know the software, your slideware becomes better. There is more context to the slideware. I quickly wanted to bring Paul, you in. By the way, really loved the very quick wardrobe change that you went through. Right? It looks fabulous. You and Microsoft have obviously been at the forefront of this charge, right? Especially as more and more organizations adopt the flexibility, the time to value, and the OpEx advantages of a cloud-based platform. However, there still seems to be in some quarters reservations about privacy and security there. How important are these facets, and how inherent are they in their cloud-based engagement platforms?
So there are two aspects to it this way. So one is, of course, there is a big concern about how security is looked at from a cloud perspective. And the best example of this was me talking as a salesperson several years ago to a lawyer, a very reputed lawyer. Many of you probably know them as well, but will not mention their name. And I was talking to him, I'm like, sir, you are one of the best law firms in the country. Are you not scared of putting your data on the cloud? And his answer to me was, Paul, I'm a lawyer. I look at things very differently. If I have to look for a needle in a haystack, and the haystack is a Microsoft cloud, how will I know where to look for it, right? So that way I'm way more safer. So that's one way to look at it, right? And absolutely, kudos to the way that particular techpreneur was looking at it. Being a lawyer had a big mission. And the reality, of course, is we still have to be accountable for customer data, the laws that govern them, right? In India, we will see something very similar to a GDPR, which is there in Europe. However, we as organizations, or what in a legal term are called as data custodians or data stewards, how are we preparing for something like this, especially when we are collecting customer identity, customer transaction information, and payment authorizations? So that becomes very, very critical. And this is where Microsoft makes sure that right from the word go, right, we make sure that we will always work with our customers as a trusted partner to deal with their data, while we will ensure of being that data steward for our customers, making sure that we meet all the GDPR or GDPR-like requirements, where we will not expose customer data without or with your consent as well, as someone who uses our cloud, right? We will not do that. We are basically stewards. We will give a clear log of where the data is stored. And for some reason you want that data to be quenched or redacted, we will also give you proof of saying that has gone away. So that way, data's privacy is important. And also data retention and recovery is a big challenge, right? In case you had this in a very traditional way, it would be a main source of information or all the data. There will be a backup, and there will be a backup of a backup, and there will be a tape, right? All of us in tech know that there will be at least 2 or 3 points of failure. And we take that seriously. So we make sure that we have that exact same thing. We have data, we have copies of data within the given data center, we have backup of that data center in another data center, and then we also have the traditional shadow copies or tape copies of that data. So making sure that no point you either lose data inadvertently or you expose data through malicious attacks, and making sure that lastly is that we as Microsoft will be a partner in being that great data steward for your customers, ensuring that privacy, security, and retention are met.
No, Paul, I think one of the things I'm constantly surprised at is that cloud is no longer in its infancy. It's a fairly mature. It's evolving, but it's mature, and people still ask me, is it safe? And I keep telling them, if any of the large cloud players, right, one of whose reason for existence is to ensure that whatever data you put on the cloud is safe, etc. If you think that is less safe than the data center, which you have a bunch of people to handle, makes it safer, I think that's it's not exactly where reasonable thinking. I think the first thing is, while all the platforms will enable us to do secure, keep data secure and private, first thing is the ethical intent of the organization. And when I say ethical intent, I don't mean purposeful maliciousness, right? It's just that sometimes we don't take enough. We have the intent to say, I want to keep a customer's data safe and private, but we just don't put our money and our time where our mouth is, right? It takes a fair amount of effort and time to be able to do this, bring the right sort of people in, bring the right sort of tools. And I think that's where a lot of it sort of goes missing. But of course, right, this has become a international debate now. But I still wanted to come back to where we were originally. Vinay, you, of course, you are that very, very rare human capital. Your alternative panel would obviously be, cradle to grave with one organization. I mean, you joined SKP, 16 years ago as a trainee, if I'm not wrong. I mean, it's a very rare commodity, right? But anyhow, coming back to what we're talking about here, right? Client centricity is something that you're a very firm advocate of, and I wanted to come to you for some customer experience best practices, but also specifically how a good, robust CRM/data analytic is an asset even in a professional services ecosystem.
Thanks, Viswa. Absolutely, I feel whichever business, whether it is a commodity product, professional services, I think going forward, and again in alignment with with what Paul mentioned, what Avnish mentioned, and others. See, client retention, ensuring that consistent experience, which is delightful for the customers, is there in any business. And every customer wants to feel special, right? Irrespective of the size of the account for the organization or whatever. I feel technology, having a nice CRM, getting all your account managers, everyone who deals with the gone are the days where sales CRM was just like a I would say a tool for sales people and just for for getting business and monitoring accounts. I believe CRM needs to get and technology needs to get integrated with deeply integrated with day-to-day life. It needs to become as popular, or I would say as well used as an Excel sheet or as a Microsoft Outlook or Teams. It needs to be like that. I'm sure it's happening in a great way. I'm sure Paul will mention a few things about it. Customer centricity, coming back to the point, Viswa, which you mentioned, again, I think an existing customer, getting more business from an existing customer is always an easier thing, is always a pleasurable and a satisfactory thing as to getting, chasing new plans. And unless, you are able to pull the client flow, which obviously is true for some of the businesses like Naukri and others. So I mean, I'm of a very, very strong view that technology needs to be integrated in very, very simple ways. Every customer, irrespective of the size, needs to get a feeling of that they are a key account in whatever way. They can be tiered, they can be whatever. Businesses where there are thousands and lakhs and millions of accounts, it needs to be figured out in some model that each account and each client is feeling special about whatever business, irrespective of the size of the business that they're giving. And technology can enable this. Technology can enable every business to give that very special feeling of a consumer. The moment, the example that you gave, Biswa, right, of Zomato or any food delivery app, your valet has picked up the food and your valet has sanitized the hands and temperature has been checked and it is so much. I mean, just see, you've just ordered a burger of probably $100, $150, but you're getting that experience very, very specialized. And it's all, why is this possible? It's only possible because of technology. So I believe a lot more can be done in terms of remaining engaged with the client, retaining the client, getting additional business from the client, earning more revenues, more profits for the organization. So see, customer is happy, your associates are happy, you are making more profits, you are able to pay more to the shareholders and to your associates, right? So I believe it's a win-win. And what is that one thing which is making this happen? It's technology, automation, digitization. So.
Yep, I absolutely, Vinay. I think bang on, right? Whether it is hunting, whether it is gathering, in both the cases, I think it plays and then, like you said, there's this flywheel, right? Digital generates data, data generates. Hopefully, you'll get to AI, and then once you do AI, essentially, what is it doing? In some sort, it is promoting automation or autonomous, and then it comes back to saying, now I have more data, and therefore digital, and then the flywheel continues, right? I think a beautiful way of putting that through. I quickly wanted to jump to Nitin. Nitin, you of course have been a very consummate customer and salesperson for almost 2 decades, right? Are you seeing the shift where organizations are not just looking at layering bits of digital as part of some isolated, sort of like window dressing, right? But actually want to uproot a lot of traditional, mechanisms and sort of have a foundational digital as a foundational pillar for their businesses, right? And you're also telling me earlier about a very interesting situation in a private sector bank. So maybe just to go there and let's hear from you about that.
Sure. Thanks. So, see, we all know that the B2B buying and selling environment, has been very, very dynamic. There are multiple inhibitors, influencers, motivators that influence the entire buying cycle. Today, the scenario where we are in, the buyers are, probably looking at the parameters to onboard a potential vendor partner very, very strictly and stringently. With tech playing a major role, not just as a garnish, but I would say integrated in the entire solution that a service provider has to go to market or offer to the customers. The other part which is playing a very essential role is whether your overall service proposition can have a productivity and an efficiency impact in the ecosystem of your customer and thereby their end customers. An interesting case study that you were mentioning, Biswa, that I wanted to quote over here. A large client of ours, private sector bank, partnered with one of the largest e-commerce players in the country, providing co-branded credit cards to end customers like you and me. The leadership team over there presented us with a multi-pronged challenging proposition or a problem statement, so to say. One, obviously, to provide a seamless experience to their customers because the leads were originating on a platform somewhere. The document collection and the fulfillment was to be done by the bank. Second, going back to their customers in an industry acceptable turnaround time and getting the conversions which are as per the industry standards and the business standards. And three, and most importantly, getting a sense of the data, getting a sense of the data analytics and the informed business decisions that would be based upon that. As one of the largest HR and business services provider, Quest Corp Limited, where we manage more than 370,000 employees across our business lines and customers. When our project teams looked inwards, they said that, yes, there are solutions across our business platforms or businesses, but they are in silos. The task for us was to bring it all together into one integrated platform. And that's where our project teams or the solution teams came in together with the business teams and the client teams. Work together a proposition where customer lifecycle management business of ours, which has tools that interact with the front-end customers, the digital solutions business and the managed staffing solution services came together on a digital platform, a technology platform, and provided an end-to-end solution to the customer, right? From originating of the leads to mapping them, to scheduling the appointments, to collecting the documents from the ground, and then thereby the conversions. And all of this was customizable, yet agile, and very simply scalable. So from the pilot launch of 4 cities that we did to 65 plus cities where we are today, and I'm talking about in the last 1 year or so, and all of this under the COVID restrictions and operating parameters. What the bank gained out of this was a single service provider providing them with multiple or multifaceted services, thereby their own team's interactions with multiple partners or utilization of multiple technologies came down. They could seamlessly bring it on under one particular platform and got the entire delivery done on a combination of tech and people on a single particular platform. And thereby, the efficiencies that they gained from this particular project, or the kind of data analytics that they gained from the technology tools being utilized, or the conversions that went up because everything was now visible and on a seamless tech platform, definitely had merits for the customers. And I think this is where we are now opening up dialogues with more and more customers of ours, that why not give us problem statements as a service provider and give you solutions which can be backed by robust tech and digital solutions, and a right combination of man and tech coming into play to offer those particular solutions. So this is what I had to share.
And Nitin, I agree. I see more and more of our customers, at least, relooking at their product portfolio, or even the basic product, because of the technology that is available now. They're not retrofitting technology to say, I want this product. Let me go and see how can I get it done. In many cases, they are saying, I have all of this technology at my disposal. How do I go ahead and do this? Siddharth C, right? I just wanted to bring into the conversation. You, me, Avnish, of course, have something in common of interest. Obviously, everybody can see the books behind you and me. Avnish, we know, is a bookstore. He's a bookstore tourist. So I don't know if there's a term like that. Sid, I just wanted to bring in. You have had a bird's eye view of this entire thing, because obviously your organization sitting right at the top of it, right? How did Shepherds really sort of deal with this crisis during the pandemic, and how has technology helped at all, and if so, how? Sid?
So traditionally, we have been a platform company having multiple products in the API, AI, and actionable big data space, actually. And we've been doing, that's why we have provided large organizations to do agile and incremental digital transformation. Our intent was that you cannot do a big bang digitization. Startups are more agile. When larger companies are today fighting the onslaught of startups, they need to be more agile. And one of the biggest challenges for them was disparate data sources, having data, transactional data in some data source, having online data coming through different channels, be it mobile, web, or chatbots, and so on. So how do you marry all this, create a single view of a customer, and have a level to move from macro to micro data? But I would like to share a story for what has happened with us, and it has been a phenomenal experience. The day the Prime Minister announced that there is going to be a lockdown from tomorrow, the next day in March, we had a lot of AI APIs as part of our digital platform. And we launched a product called Work Anywhere. So the product didn't exist actually before the pandemic. The day this thing happened, we created a PPT, we shared it with Microsoft, and we leveraged this channel to reach out to different type of companies. Traditionally, we've been selling in the BFSI, media verticals earlier, our digital platform. And here, a completely new vertical came into, for a new segment got created, or vertical got created for us, which is IT and BPO actually. So what had happened is the next day onwards, people who were managing financial data and health data, since their workforce started to work from home, there was no solution which will allow them to work in a secured environment. Credit card information, health-related information, all that was, for the lack of right word, people were accessing it in an unsecured environment, and hence a lot of these larger companies had lots of revenue loss because banks and other people were not allowing them that people should access their customers' data in an unsecured environment. And that's how Work Anywhere was born. Work Anywhere. So from conceptualization to getting pilots done, and then selling and having paid users, and scaling and penetrating into new markets, because mainly the IT BPO industry, Philippines is a larger market than India. There are other countries, Romania, Bulgaria, Latin America, where most of the IT BPO companies are there. And we had to, in this 1 year itself, we had to go into and penetrate into these markets and sell this new product, which we built as Work Anywhere. Today, like what has happened with wallet companies with respect to the demonetization that wallet companies picked up, same thing happened with us in the pandemic times. A Work Anywhere platform actually it was born, and today some of the largest if you take top 10 companies in this space are already our customers. So the whole fabric of society has changed. So we had to change everything. My workforce started to work from home. I mean, people had gone to their native town. So to build a product during that time, that was very challenging. Adding product management, adding features on a absolutely new area, getting feedback from customers was a challenge. Deploying in this product in customer environment where you're not going to these companies. These are all multi-billion-dollar companies. Normally you would go there in their office, sit and talk. Here you're doing everything on video conferencing, and then doing sales and support, managing support, doing everything remotely. So each part of the organization had to scale, had to think differently. Even our recruitment, we had to quickly scale because the product had such a huge traction that we quickly had to build a team. How will you build a team with whom you have never met? I mean, some people have joined from Kerala. You don't know whether there is no touch point, there is no cultural culture. What should I say? Symbiosis, so to speak. So everything had to change. Our doctor or lawyer or any kind of professional, this thing has fundamentally, student, teacher, everything has changed actually. And this is where we had to rediscover ourselves, use our own digital platform, and leverage partners because we could not put feet on the ground and sell this new product. And that's where Microsoft came into picture and some other partners, right? We use channel sales very strongly and reach to our customers for even penetrating in these different geographies. Like Philippines, we had never had even a single customer in that geography. Penetrating into a new geography everywhere, I feel the whole reseller channel partnerships has taken complete precedence, because if you want to scale in this time and you don't have the leverage to build a team now, why not partner with those people who are already entrenched in that environment, right? Email marketing itself has become very, very, what should I say, effective, because people know that they won't be, I mean, companies are looking for solutions right now. Our whole AI business have tripled with respect to the sales which we were doing, because companies are looking for solutions right now because of the challenges which they are facing, right, with respect to pandemic. So that has been our experience. As I said, we went through the whole cycle of product conceptualizations to sales in this past 1.5 years, and lots of good experiences and challenges which we came through.
Sid, I think that's as good an example as we'll get of what digitization is enabled. I think one of the only few silver linings that came out of the pandemic is this entire myth about the physical co-location being necessary for productivity, for good sales, for customer rapport building. I think all of that has gone out of the window. And while I know that a small percentage will revert back to pre-pandemic behavior once everything becomes normalized, I still think a large number of us will still not, possibly will still not go back there. We have just set up about enough time to spend, go do a quick roundabout for a minute each. Avnish, I know you have to go pick up the daughter, drop your daughter or pick up the daughter. So I'm going to come to you first quickly, Avnish. Just a quick minute on saying, how has the sales conversation structure architecture really changed, and how is technology influencing it or will influence it in the near future?
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about brass tack sales. We used to rely I mean, there has always been a sales process in existence, depending on the industry, depending on the product, depending on the customer persona. A sales process has been in existence for a very long time. I think as a salesman myself, I would rely a lot on networking on site, what I would call camping at the customer's premises, touching base with many secondary stakeholders who may not have a big influence on the entire sales cycle, but they become very fertile sources of information, of political alignment, of getting a little bit of nudge in the right direction and so on. That has gone out of the window, right? So that is one. Two, the competitive snooping that one used to do, look at the visitors register, just smell for who else are they talking to, this and that is no longer there, right? The third thing is, and this I think has been this has been under works for a while. Charisma oriented selling has come to a grinding halt because you can no longer rely on personal charisma that much. You have a virtual communication happening, be it video, audio. So there is very limited scope for charisma based selling. So I think what has really bubbled up during the pandemic is story based narratives. Very content focused sales conversations. So depending on how deep your research is, how much do you really know about the customers, both the stakeholders' personal wins as well as the business KPIs that your product or offering is going to impact. I think that is right now the hero of the story. And one thing at a behavioral level that has changed for the salespeople, earlier it was just nice to have practice. Get micro commitments from customers to make sure that you stitch together what has been discussed and then get a segue to the next steps. That has become absolutely the sine qua non now. I mean, you cannot move forward without that. You have to get micro commitments. That is your lead into the next stage or sub-stage of the sales process. The 2 or 3 really good things that have come out for me. One, productivity has really gone up. Customer is fully available. It is easier to get multiple stakeholders from customer side, even if they're senior, on the same call, because it doesn't take that much now. That hierarchical positioning thing, which used to be the mystical part of selling. If it's a sales manager on this side, who should he get mapped to and so on? A little bit of that has dissolved. It's a very cultural thing, but at least in my experience, that has got dissolved. 2 cheeky things that I've started doing. One, I've started actually dipping into sales calls myself. Okay. I'm there in a listen and only mode. Nobody has a problem. There are 5 different people anyhow on a Zoom meeting with the customer. Customer really doesn't care. My salespeople, because they're not seeing me, they're not conscious of me, from a hierarchical standpoint. It allows me to see what's going on in the field, how consistent are the conversations, how things are moving forward, is there a disconnect and so on. Second one is ditto for my marketing and product colleagues. I can now easily infuse them to do a dipstick on how sales conversations are happening. So they are not 3 degrees removed from what's happening. They have a first-hand feel of that. That's what I would say this one.
So I think brilliant. I have just been kept given a time check. I'm being kept honest. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go around 30 seconds and 30 seconds, right? Your views on what role technology plays in this space. In the coming time, I'll go around the screen. Sid, I will start with you, Sid. 30 seconds on what role you think technology is going to play in helping us help. You're on mute, Sid.
I feel that as we know, any kind of challenge, whenever humankind is basically constrained by challenges, new things happen. And today, since people are anyways working in a different environment, the only power which we have is technology. And there is a level of, there is huge data available today, which was a challenge earlier. The amount of data one mobile phone has today, that much data was there for the full enterprise. So AI, I feel, will define the next couple of years. That will be the next have similar impact like internet. I won't take more time. Actually, it's quite to talk about it, but we can move around.
Sure. So AI is where it is, and I absolutely AI knowledge, shape, and form. I agree with you. Sid P, I'm going to move to you next. 30 seconds of what technologies you think will play, we should keep an eye on.
Thanks, Vishal. I think, see, technology, there is no doubt about that. It's going to play a key role. But apart from technology, I think what we also have to see is how we are integrating various data sources in the technology. Like my colleagues, Prabhu, Anand, they have mentioned that we have to help customers get those informed decisions. So just to, quickly tell you a small example. So right now, knowing the health of the customer, financial health is not important. Post pandemic, we have realized that we also need to understand their supply chain as well. So how financially the whole supply chain, the value chain is, because you might find many of those being affected by the pandemic. So I think I would conclude that yes, technology is important along with integration of various sources and I would say information coupled with technology, it's going to play a key role in next couple of years.
I absolutely agree. I think changing technology is what changes data to information so that we can do something about it. Brilliant. And then 30 seconds, your take on what's next new.
Yeah, I think everybody has touched upon this topic, right? It's about data. I think data being the central of everything, and all these technologies, APIs comes and connects. How do you take an informed decision using the data? The person who can use the data as much as possible without rejecting much of the data and use is going to be the most successful organization going forward, right? So data is new oil. That's what Ambani said in his Geo meeting, right? Geo opening statement, right? That's the core strength. I think organization which is going to use data with technology is going to be the next gen organization.
Anand, I love it when somebody says data, because my bread and butter is data. So that essentially means tomorrow also I'll remain relevant. Everybody says data is the new oil, and this is one of my pet peeves, right? Have you ever heard of a situation where you sink an oil well, you pull up a bucket of oil, pour it into a car and drive off? That doesn't happen. You need to have this entire chain of refinery, blah, 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 all of it. And if data is the new oil, where is your refinery? And I keep asking CXOs this, where is your refinery, right? But anywho, conversation for another day. Nitin, what does your crystal ball says for tomorrow?
So, Mr. As you rightly mentioned, the refinery, I guess, refining the communication in this particular era. We are all selling through technology and we are all selling technology. But refining the communication to make sure that the proposition hits ground with the customer, I guess that is going to hold the key, in terms of making successful sales or making successful deliverables for your customer through the use of technology.
I think I couldn't have put it better myself, right? Vinay, obviously, what does your crystal ball say?
So yeah, I mean, very simply put, it's inevitable. First of all, technology for all the businesses, it's going to be an enabler, and it is the only way to for us to achieve exponential growth. At the same time, we'll have to be very agile about technology and in our mind, as well as use those technologies which we can quickly move from one aspect to another aspect. If something is not working, we'll have to quickly move to something else, and I'm sure agile technologies are going to enable for all of us to do that. That's all.
I think brilliant. Speed of adoption or adaptation and fail quick. Doesn't work, move on, and that's what cloud actually allows a lot of us to do. Paul, for you, I have a different question, but you'll still have the same 30 seconds. I mean, money matters, right? Finally, how can the organization keep costs, especially in this regard, down? Because somebody has to sign the check, especially when it comes to customer engagement platform stuff.
Yeah, so I'm going to build on the 30 seconds and exactly what you pointed out. This way is you've got oil, you've got refineries, but the biggest challenge of running a refinery is there are hidden costs, right? Hidden costs in running a refinery, in bringing resources from 3-4 different refineries together, the pipeline that runs from one end to another end, right? So when you think about the cloud, think exactly like the way you did, right? Data is the new oil. You do have the oil, but the oil is fragmented. that is what spikes up cost. What we at Microsoft ask our customers to do is invest in that refinery, which can scale up, which can becomes that superset for you in terms of churning out that oil, the one that you want, the byproducts, which is, natural gas. I mean, I'm a chemical engineer by profession, so this is close to me. So you get your natural gas, you get your gasoline, you get your diesel, and you get everything in that one go with that right investment. And you don't get that right. That is when cost goes up, right? When you start looking very point specific, looking at a very target saying, I just need this, and I'm going to do this, that's when your cost starts to balloon up. So my only 2 cents on costs is think big, think about a bigger picture of a refinery and all the different data points that come in as an oil, and what is the end product along with the byproducts. Only then can you think of a comprehensive solution, and that's what we advise as Microsoft to our customers, is think big. And how can a great platform that can help you to scale up with predictable costs, not with hidden costs.
I really like this. What I also like is that all the cloud-based platforms are inherently modular in nature, right? They are like jigsaw puzzles. You can put some of them now, and then as and when you need more, you can keep bringing them into the larger ecosystem. It gives you massive amount of cost leverage. But yes, I'm going to quickly. I think I have a brilliant time, right? Just to wind this up, we in KPMG have a framework for digital success, which sort of hinges on 3 aspects. We call it connected, powered, and trusted. So the interconnectedness of every part of our business, technologically amplified capabilities to create and experiment, and finally, of course, underlying everything, protection for our assets, our data, and of course, our consumers. But I always say we keep talking about hardware and software when we speak tech. As important, if not more, is the wetware, which of course is, us being 60% water is you and me. Because while the other 2 brings in recency and convenience, etc., for the first principle of relevance and context for every new business iteration or solution, the third is still the fulcrum around which all of this works, and possibly this, keeping the human in the middle, designing for how machines interact with humans. And I consider everything, all of these machines, and I consider an algorithm a machine, right, is many a times the difference between the success and the failure of such journeys. I have had a brilliant time. I'm hoping in this age where we are all running from conversation to conversation, we'll still all be able to keep in touch with each other, whether it is through this mail chain that Bhumi has created or the WhatsApp group that happened. Thank you so much. You've been great. Ivan, I just wanted to hand back to you.
Thank you, Biswa. Well, that concludes the Economic Times Digital Roundtable discussion powered by Microsoft, the theme being delivering a differentiated and connected customer experience. I had a wonderful time listening to the members of this roundtable discussion. I know this could have gone on for a day-long session. Whatever was done in the 40 minutes or so that the members of this roundtable had was mind-blowing, to say the least. So I'd like to thank the members of this roundtable for taking time off from their busy schedules and sharing cutting-edge insights on how to accelerate growth and loyalty through customer centricity in the digital age. Thank you, Anand Viramani, Nitin Nangya, Avnish Dutt, Siddhartha Chandulkar, Siddhartha Padmapati, Vinay Sanchetti, and Prabhu Paulson for your fantastic insights. And this roundtable discussion wouldn't have had that edge. I would like to thank our moderator, Biswajit Das, who did a fantastic job of putting all the questions to the members of this roundtable and summing up post their responses. Thank you, Biswa, for doing a great job of moderating this roundtable discussion. I am sure the members of the audience are leaving with some important takeaways. Have a good day. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Biswa.